Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, olúwa mi ò dìde ojú
The Ashen Forge. The Ashen Forge.
Hello and welcome to the Ashen Forge. I am Phantomax, joined, as always, by Diggs and the legendary Neurotoxin. How's it going?
Going well. I'm having fun with some of the new stuff that's been coming in. I wasn't expecting ships to come with the update they came in, and sure enough, there they were. I thought, well, 12 days of kind of working on it, and then 2 days of testing. Surely they're gonna give it a little bit more time. Nope, here it is. And then same thing with the stat rebalancing. There was the big rebalance and rework thing that got done, and we got a couple of days to play with it. And people are like, "Oh, well, it's kind of cool. It's kind of weird, though. It's hard to say with like things that aren't our normal equipment." And people were maybe thinking that it was gonna get a little retuning based on our feedback before it went in, but nope, it went in. And despite the limited amount of discussions going on the forums about it, it is kind of the talk of the game and has been since it came in on Thursday.
Boats has been the topic.
No, the attribute change. Boats have gotten a little bit better. They came in as something that's faster than raft caravans, and you can shoot at raft caravans with the cannons, or you can shoot at other caravels with the cannons. And then this week they finally brought in another feature for them, which is cargo space, so they can hold by default an oak hull of kind of lowish quality. You're gonna get 2 high and 3 wide for your storage, which doesn't help anybody, considering 3 wide 2 high is actually a better proportion, because that's the crate boxes are wide, they're not tall, so that part doesn't really help too much. I wish it had been kind of done the other way, maybe like even 2x4. Legitimately, I was thinking, well, the ship's way bigger than a caravan. Certainly, they're going to start off with like 3-4 times the capacity of a decent caravan, right? Nah. And that makes sense, I guess, because of the caravels are they don't really, they're a novice level craft, so you just basically make 100 oak timber and then throw that into the carpentry station and get yourself a hull, and then you bring it to the lawless area and you go to one of the places with the docks and say, "Hey, I want to throw this hull in the water here, fix me up." And they're, "Oh yeah, we'll get you going here, give us 25 gold and we'll fill in the rest for you." I don't know if that's how it's gonna be. 25 gold's kind of a lot. You're not going to be making 25 gold 1 2x3 trek at a time, but they're for a little bit more than that, especially if you and a bunch of your friends want to go out and kind of hop around on some of the islands, grabbing some of the easy resources you see, and then just jumping back on the boat to scour around for more dragon trees and bananas. I got some heroic bananas.
Yeah, it seems like you are interested enough to actually check the forums and actually post something on the forums, which to me you rarely do. That's compared to me. And what you responded to was about grinding, I think, versus questing.
Yeah, and it's something that I've talked about plenty and been critical of, that I don't think the amount of adventuring experience for artisanry is high enough for how little there is questing available to level up with. Early on, oh yeah, it's easy. Warhelm, tons of quests. Probably way too many quests for the place right between the Aelin portal and the two starting towns, because that place is always a chunk fest as a result. And it seems counterintuitive to get people out the gates and get them moving on to different nodes, but there's quests to be had there, and those will get you to maybe 6, maybe 8, maybe around 7 or 8 you start going up into the garrison. There's a couple more quests and some more stuff to be done there. Maybe do some of the commissions to kind of fill the gaps a little. I'm sure there's some stuff to level up on. There's some other quests out of there, but then when I look at like actual quest chains that have me running back and forth from northern Carfin all the way to Miraleth, and Carfin and Miraleth and Carfin and Miraleth, and you do that about 3 or 4 times, I think, for the Minotaur quest line, which then eventually ends in a really a fun sort of thing. But also, if you're not looking to travel the land, it's maybe not going to be your favorite thing to go to the 4 Riverlands Minotaur camps and consecrate them, basically. The actual narrative part of the quest, though, is great. And even though there isn't anything mechanical for it, it at least lays the groundwork that in the future there could be Minotaurs that are not like all exactly in opposition of the exalted efforts. And they make it very clear that Minotaurs and goblins, they ain't friends. Minotaurs hate goblins. Minotaurs hate goblins. Man, do they hate goblins. They hate goblins so much that it feels like they would almost team up with us just to kill them faster.
Those Minotaurs, was that still artisan quests, or did you slip over into something else?
No, that was quests.
Yeah.
There's not much in the way of art.
Okay.
There's basically no artisan quests other than the commissions to gather some novice or apprentice level material, and then you turn it into the sign, and you get a little bit. You get a little bit of the artisan experience. It's a great way to get your characters up early, because it's always good to get your artisan stuff going.
Yeah, I have. I think on Vira. Ooh, did I mess that up? I can't remember.
Vira, Linus,
no,
it's one of those 3.
No. I'm trying to think of which character I was using, but I don't think I messed it up. On Vira, I have a character that's just artisan.
Gotcha.
But and that wasn't so bad. I think I got them up to 5 or something like that. I did not play this past week, which is why I don't know much of anything about these attribute changes. That's what you said earlier.
Yeah.
What are the attribute changes, and how have they affected gameplay?
So the attribute changes came in multiple forms. For one, all of the combat attributes have been visually multiplied by 10, basically.
Wait, what? Say that again?
So all of the attributes, effectively, they are visually, the way that they display is that they're about 10 times bigger numbers than they used to be. But all of the formulas now require, 10 times as much input to get the same outputs, relatively speaking. So it's more that they kind of exploded out the numbers by an extra, 10x, just so that way there's more room for the expression of granularity of the attributes, where something that could have been like a 10 or a 15 before would have just been a 1. Now there's actually that room for a little bit more expression in the ranges of things.
What are we looking at here on the screen?
On which
is
screen?
this from on the screen right now that we're watching on the main screen?
On the main screen, I don't know what gameplay footage that is.
Is that the live? Is that a live stream?
Yeah, I think so.
Phantom?
Yeah,
Phantom-
sorry. The stream's
Yeah.
apparently really laggy and some other stuff, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, but what is it from?
I don't remember. One of
it
the
was
Okay.
I pulled
probably
one
one
of
of the live streams a little while
pulled one of
ago.
the old ones because
Okay.
I kept replaying because they've not done any proper live streams for months now. So
Yeah.
I just realized I've been showing the same video like every time we've done this. So I just pulled an old one.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, give me an example of something like
Okay, so where something used to say it gave 30 strength and 120 attack power, now it would look like 300 strength and 1200 attack power. But when you actually go in and highlight all the different damage calculations to look at the formulas and how they shake out, it's effectively just we took what we had, we multiplied it by 10. All the formulas require 10 times as much for the output. That's one of the things that they did.
okay, and
Second-
pause for 1
Okay.
second.
Okay.
Because Phantom, you said something like you were doing when people requested formulas, you were supplying formulas. Is that related to this attribute change?
Yeah, but I don't know that I should be discussing any of those things.
Well, I just mean you seem to be okay. I'm not. I
Yes,
don't
yes, everyone is
know. But
curious.
there's some
as to what's going
calculation,
on.
like yeah. Okay, but that's related to the new attribute changes. Is people are trying to figure out how to min max differently. Is that what I'm kind of gathering?
Yeah, they're
in general?
trying to understand.
These latest changes. Okay.
Yeah, because they've
And-
changed it quite a bit actually, just from a number.
Yeah.
You know, instead
Yeah.
of, instead
So-
like, so like power, it's power rating. Like so, there's,
Okay.
and they're rather large numbers actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right.
there's-
So
There's a
second
lot to
point.
take in from that. The second one is it appears that enchanting itself is much less powerful than it used to be. That it used to basically with the smaller numbers and then just take all of these numbers and plus one them or plus two them or increase them by plus 1 or 1%, whichever is bigger. You could take things that were of a lower level range and make them really powerful above and beyond where they should be. For example, it wasn't uncommon very recently, and people that are still stuck with it and haven't rebuilt yet, that you'd see people that were doing really well with heroic to legendary quality level 10 range items that they would enhance with enchantment up to +5, +6, +7, +10 if they've got a gambling addiction. Anything past that, and they're really chasing the dragon, because that's at the range where your item blowing up or losing all of its levels is significantly higher. And because people aren't really crafting the enchanting scrolls and the charms to improve your odds, and the scroll that reduces the chances that you blow your item up, there's a high likelihood that a lot of people are just doing this raw, and you get what you get. And if it means your items blow up a whole bunch, well, hopefully you had another +10 that you were hanging on to and using. That's the name of the game. So now it feels like it's more like approximately 1% per level of enchantment, which isn't gonna be a lot when you're comparing something that's in the level 10 to 19 range approximately to something in the 20 to 29 range, because the 20 to 29 range stuff is just going to have much higher base attributes in general, and they're a lot more tedious to craft. And I don't know how much more tedious to craft they're going to get past Journeyman, because it's already ridiculous at Journeyman how much you've got to put into it versus the final result. But it's basically kind of changed things that anybody that's level 20 and higher, just start putting on those level 20 drops that you get from the dungeons, and you're probably going to start seeing pretty decent upgrades out of it. Meanwhile, if you have your level 10 stuff that you plussed the hell out of, and you're wondering why your magic power went from 300 to 150 overnight, well, that's what it was. Your level 10 stuff just got smashed straight into the ground relative to the prior balancing. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Now, one of the other things, though, is that there's been a bit of an emphasis on, like, a set actually, like, fulfilling a certain sort of purpose. So you wouldn't just put a set, you're maybe choosing one set that you like because of the way it looks, for example. The actual attributes for having all 8 of those pieces is going to be a pretty decently balanced sort of set for the archetype you're building it for. So my Claire, for example, has a lot of the enchanted bronze stuff on, and the stuff that isn't is Bluebell. But either way, they it's a bit more of a de-emphasis on it being high magic power equipment, and more of an emphasis on, I feel like, critical resistance and other sorts of, like, not as obvious sort of defensive things. Likewise, offense having more of an emphasis on crits and penetration than it previously had. So there's a bit of some of the stuff kind of going with that, where maybe they don't want the meta to be, or maybe the meta can be, but it's not exactly the best to only and exclusively target the things that increase your attack power or your magic power, and instead for people to start focusing on things that give a bigger sort of range of defenses. Yeah, NPCs do definitely crit in ashes. Like my physical mitigation is like 13%, but I want to say my crit resistance or my crit avoidance is like 30%. So, and that's nice, because when I'm getting, when things are hitting a lot and critting a lot, the less they're critting you, the less they have the ability to do those crits, the more it keeps their damage in its normal range rather than the, exploded amount that the crits will do. So it's definitely nice to see that they're putting an effort into it. I understand a lot of people had their builds get completely blown up as a result, but yeah. Hey, it's Alpha 2. I've been saying the whole time, there's no point in doing RMT. It's terrible. Don't do it. There's no point in trying to be the kings of preseason. We're not in preseason. We're in the pilot league for a sport that's still being formed. So, if everything that you put all of your effort and super specialize and put all that care into happened to be level 10 range stuff, and you'd been going out kicking ass and taking names on that equipment, then suddenly, as soon as the update came through, golly gee, I hope you had a bunch of golden materials saved up from all of your ass kicking, because you're going to need to get a new set of gear now. And it also expanded the identities of, like, items and sets, like the Bear Slayer's hide or Bear Slayer's skin or whatever. Before the update, it gave both physical power rating and magical power rating, putting in that odd spot where it's not actually part of anything. It doesn't belong for anyone. It's just, it's got some defense and some con and, like, some, ho-hum waterfall stat. Okay, whatever, the little downstream things. Now it is decidedly a martial piece of equipment. They took any inkling of a caster ever wanting to use it out, which is great. They gave it an identity. If this is a Bear Slayer's hide, you're a Bear Slayer. Bear slaying doesn't sound like someone going firebolt, firebolt, firebolt. It sounds like someone going up to a bear and cutting it to pieces. So I feel like that kind of matches with it a bit. One of the other ones that it's like, for better or for worse, is kind of a hilarious turnaround for me. Spindlevine appears to be martial now, And I've been waiting for light martial gear to manifest because it was kind of missing that. Casters, you have light, medium, and heavy, but martials, you're like mostly medium and heavy, which contradicts the sort of ability that if you know you're going into a magic-based dungeon and you're going to be mostly be attacked by magic, you're going to want to put on medium to light range stuff, not heavy to medium range stuff. So Spindlehem seemed to be the one that got chosen as you're actually martial now. You're light martial clothes. And the pants, somebody had posted about their pants changing. It's like, what the hell happened to my caster pants? Why do they have strength on them now? It's like, well, it appears that the Spindlevine stuff now has a new identity. Just like Revidium has very much taken identity as, you know, the healing and stuff for healers. If you don't care as much about your general spell power, your magic power being particularly the highest, but you want your healing to be particularly higher, there's a whole lot of pieces in not just the Revidium armor, but the focuses, the wand, the scepter, like all of it seems to be very much geared towards healing and being healed and staying topped off on your health and mana as a healer, which is great because now it kind of solidifies Revidium, this kind of like namesake material of the Riverlands, as yeah, this is what you're going to want to use if you want to, you know, if you wanted to be a healer. Halcyon had was kind of in that position. Honestly, I should check my Halcyon earrings to see if they're still caster stats. I don't think I've done that. But Halcyon was kind of like good for healer related stuff. But I think like the other Halcyon like is the rings that are physical and the earrings that were magical. So it probably took on some new identity one way or the other with those. So I like that because it doesn't replace the thing that I'm most worried about, but it at least kind of gives an inkling that they're thinking about it, which is the thing that I'm worried about is that we get recipes in all the regions for the materials in all the regions, but there's no experimentation outside of the rarities that you put into the things, that you can't be like, all right, well, I want a, you know, Revidium blade, but I want to cast it in like a sandstone mold, or, you know, an obsidian mold, or dried coral mold, or something like that for some other set of attributes instead of, I think it's a weirdstone or weirdstone or limestone that it uses for the mold. So like that sort of experimentation is still something I'm really hoping to see, that they kind of open it up and start making their recipes more dynamic and a lot more like depth and expression with each recipe, instead of just breadth of, yes, here's thousands of recipes, more recipes than you could ever possibly think to discover through normal gameplay. So people have conveniently put it on a wiki for you, so you can be a wiki wizard to find what things you need to wear to make the best gear that you think is good for the current meta right now. And that
I think you shouldn't need to go to the wiki, and I think Steven is kind of hoping that that would not be the case, that you can just kind of figure things out. But I mean, experiment, but that it makes sense. Like, you know, if Revidium is a healing thing, that's the primary material that you want for that, and then there's other things that you can do. It does remind me, of my favorite aspect of EverQuest Next and their concept of their motivation for PvP. The example that they gave that I loved is the Dark Elves siphon life energy from the Dryads.
Oh, yeah.
And then they take it back home and they convert it into shadow energy. And that shadow energy is what drives
There's stealth. Power.
Stealth. Yeah. And so, yeah, I would love to hear that there now is some material in Ashes of Creation that's doing that. And then further with what you said, I hope in terms of refining different recipes and finding identity and stuff like that, that some of that comes across not only with races, that the races may fiddle with stuff a little bit differently, but also that we might get more identity as we get the secondary archetypes, so that, as we're drilling down into our secondary classes, we'll see that. So, a cleric rogue might do something different with Ruvidium than a cleric mage, that kind of thing. I hope that would happen, like you're saying. I did play
rogue with the Ruvidium daggers. I could see that.
Mm-hmm. I did play rogue, so I have 2 rogues, but I think it's my rogue on Vyra is the rogue on, I can't remember. Maybe it's the rogue on Lothario that is the Care Bear. I think that is actually it. The rogue on Lothario is the Care Bear that has no kills and only does artisan stuff. And then the rogue on Vyra is doing the killing. But as I was playing around with rogue, I found myself wishing to have NPC guilds and trainers for abilities like we had in EQ and like you might have in World of Warcraft. Or at least I wish there was some way to, if you're going to focus on PCs, on player characters providing that and player guilds providing that, maybe some way in the skill trees of the guild that you knew, if I want to advance this skill, or I know I want to train this skill or learn this skill, you go to a specific shop or barracks or whatever where there are trainers. I was really missing that part of the RP as I was, I want to go down the shadow line, so I want to go here to do it, and I'm going to train with this person to do it. I was kind of missing that from my sense of RP immersion while playing the rogue in Ashes. I kind of like, one of the things I do like about rogue is going into stealth to heal. That's one of the, I forget the name of that ability, but to start my healing as a rogue, I will go into shadow, and that triggers the healing. And I kind of like that sense of identity of killing someone and then immediately trying to find a place where I can go into stealth. Because if someone's watching you can't do that. I love it. I love it. But yeah, so I don't know. I wish there was some way we could have trainers, but I don't know that fits with what Steven is trying to do with Ashes. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys care about having people train, or do you just care about the mechanics of it and don't care about the immersion or the feel of it?
I appreciate that there will be a point where you have to be in a town and maybe talk to somebody if you want to respec, rather than just being able to respec out in the field. But I do enjoy the luxury of being able to respec out in the field. because if you're a bard and you don't know which the right song's going to be for the group that you're joining, but you don't want to have all 5 songs unlocked, and that's a different issue of its own. Bards have way too many things. Other archetypes can get all of their stuff before level 25, and bards have like 31 points worth of stuff because of all their songs. That's something I would like to see adjusted a little bit. Like if I could pour a certain number of points into spells or the songs, melodies, and choose some of them, but not have to commit 5 points in order to know and access all of them. That'd be kind of nice. It's a little funky the way they have it right now, especially because it dominates so much of like the lower end of their stuff for where points can go and for what.
So wait, so you're wanting them to tweak Bard to be more like the other archetypes, or you want to tweak the other archetypes to be more similar to Bard?
I want to have the Bard be a little bit more like the other archetypes, though there are other things on other archetypes that I would like to see take a page from the Bard. That you have Mock and Jest, the 2 versions of Quick Wit that you can, for 0 points, have them as their own independent, it isn't a pick'em sort of thing. I like that because the game has a really hard time letting you choose friend or foe target at the exact moment that you want. There's it was a Divine Judgment, I believe, from the Cleric set that definitely needs that, because it's either going to be a gigantic heal that you totally need in that moment, it's going to save the day, or you didn't accidentally press escape enough times to not be targeting that enemy, and instead it decides, no, your tank needs a heal, and this is the biggest heal they're gonna get, and they need it. But right now, you're gonna nuke that skeleton for measly like 500 damage. All right. Yes, the ads. No, so it's that the bards having 5 melodies that you can only access them if you have points in each one of them, or if while you're out of combat you get rid of one of them and put another one in. It's just kind of a funky sort of thing. I would kind of think bards would, maybe you put 1 point and you only get 1, you put 2 points and you get all 5. It doesn't need to be as expensive as it is just to have access to one of your, like, the basic, like, simple, every bard should have it sort of tools. Certainly by like level 10, you should have all of those and have like 6 or 7 other abilities you've gotten to get points into. So, that's something I would like to see changed.
Every bard should have it. Reminded me too that the other thing I was missing while playing Rogue was a non-combat utility skill. And it was said, huh?
There's the sleep dart, the blowgun that just puts an enemy to sleep.
I mean, that still seems like combat. You're doing that to enemies.
I don't recall that it actually does damage. I'm pretty sure you can even like flag up and do that to a player.
Yeah, well,
not going to damage them.
Yeah, I think the utility example that was given back in 2017 for Rogue was like finding doors or unlocking doors, something like that. That's what I'm talking about. Disarming traps, or I think the mage was supposed to have a levitate that lets them get into areas that other people can't get into, that kind of thing. That's not specifically related to enemies.
We ain't got no bend bars, lift gates. We ain't got no traps. We ain't got no locks to pick. We ain't got no undead turning. We ain't even got dog eater. Like all of that stuff, all of the archetype specific stuff, as far as I can tell, there's the cleric can revive you and is the most effective person to heal everyone else. And then everybody else is some kind of damage and utility combination. And you can lean more into utility with some than others, but they don't really have that like identity of what they do in the party in a dungeon at a certain place in time.
Yeah.
Either a chest is an asset on the ground that you can't do anything with. It's got a few glint in it. It's actually got some narrative like you need to bring a key. You can't pick the lock. It's a mimic. It's usually a mimic.
Phantom, is this... Wait, I'm sorry. Phantom, is this a new hairdo for you? I don't remember the sides of your head being that short before.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. I haven't seen the sides being that short.
I don't remember it being that short.
Okay. All right.
Maybe I'm just balding, man. Just losing my hair.
I know on the top, but this is on the sides. Just saying. Okay.
You don't have to say I know on the top. You can just leave it be.
You brought it up. I wasn't talking about that part. You brought it up. I was just talking about the sides. No, it looks cool. I like it. Just looks different. So yeah, utility, and I guess I just haven't heard Steven talk about that, and especially not after the focus on risk versus reward. So that's kind of. I was definitely missing it. But
let me tell you what the identity of the rogue is right now. 1, single target, direct damage, CC, mega frustrating, quick jump in, assassinate, jump out type. That's one utility. That's one of their main roles. There's that level 1 or that 1-star enemy that's coming up on the group. You don't want to have everybody have to engage with it. Your rogue breaks off, goes and effectively handles it. Maybe gets a little bit of help and then comes back to the group. Or you see somebody trying to get a tree that you'd rather have, and so you don't just put them to sleep. You beat the shit out of them. You knock their ass on the ground. You leave them with like just enough health to survive the dots that you've left on them. And if they even try to attack you back, you're just going to nuke them. You're just going to finish them off real quick. So now you can freely get that tree, and they got to sit there and lick their wounds and go, "Oh, I wanted the tree, you jerk." That's the other thing. And then that's the other part of the first part of the role. The second thing is they're the ones who can train mobs on people and then go to stealth. They are the most annoying in that way. You can train a 2-star on somebody who's fighting a group of mobs. They might not even notice that you pulled this 2-star on them, and suddenly they're taking way more damage than they had anticipated. They die, everything scatters, you walk up, you take whatever you want, and then because there's nobody around for 20 yards, you just go back into stealth and kind of wait it out. You can re-stealth from stealth, so nobody ever needs to see that purple little tag over your name. That's the other main thing that the identity of the rogue right now. I will give a third, though. I will give a third. It's one of those big things. It's one of the reasons why Rogue Ranger was one of the major things I was kind of considering early on. Mobility. They've got that grappling hook. Man, that grappling hook is fun. They've got some other jumpy stuff, cool, but that grappling hook can get you into places that people literally otherwise cannot reach. Those little lookout towers on the north and south end of Lion's Hold, you can get, not just on the roof, you can get inside the middle of those pretty easily. And to be able to fight from there and, annoy your enemy, they're not going to be able to get close enough unless it's a cone instead of a sphere. They probably aren't going to be able to get close enough to prevent you from just going into stealth and escaping when you need to.
maybe that's the utility, but maybe that's the non-combat utility. But I don't know what else you'd be doing up there.
Well, going back to one of the original sort of thoughts with the game, and I liked this in Alpha 1, and I definitely played with it in Alpha 1, there had been the statement, if you can see it, you can get to it. And in Alpha 1, I very much had a sense of that. That peak, that high peak over there, I'm going to climb it. And it might take a little bit, but then I finally get to the top. And what's my reward? I get this glorious view of the whole region. I can see kind of where things are going on and what's going on in the distance, and get a better perspective on other things around in the area. That was great. I don't really feel like we even have any peaks like that right now. Most of them either you can't get to because they're up really tall sheer cliffs, or basically only mayors can get to them effectively. Though I suppose that's another nice thing with the mobility, things that mayors thought they were able to just, park in AFK for a moment. Suddenly rogues can kind of get to them. It's like, haha, not safe enough anymore. But in terms of like the dungeoneering side of things, I feel like there's effectively no inkling of that from any of the archetypes right now. And
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily a problem, because they're not working on content right now. They're working on features right now. Alpha, yeah, they're putting content in, but alpha in what it actually functions as is your march towards feature completeness. Because once you're feature complete, then you can work on the content full speed ahead. That's what beta is for, is content completion. And until we're at that point, I don't think the things where we need the tools from all the archetypes even needs to be emphasized or put in whatsoever, because that's not really what we're working with right now. We're not working with trying to fill in all the nitty-gritty content and the dungeoning and, all of the hidden things players can find if they hit all the right things and all the predicates are in the right place, and the moon's shine in just the right place to reveal the keyhole and all of that.
Well, I just mean even in the sense of like, of course I go into stealth because I want to get closer to certain flowers, especially with my Care Bear. And I might choose to use a grappling hook if it's going to get me into a tower, and then there's going to be something in the tower that I want as an artisan, but I can't think of what that would be. It seems like if I thought I could get to a treasure chest, that I might do that. But I'm saying especially for my Care Bear, I'm of course looking to do stuff that's not necessarily combat related.
I do like the idea of the rogue being able to get across to somewhere using their techniques and be able to flip the switch that opens the gate or whatever. That's a very like old school tabletop role playing game kind of thing that you would think your person with their high mobility, going back to the D&D cartoon, the acrobat perhaps would be the person that would be doing that. But yeah, that's kind of the sort of thing that I would, when they actually have the time and the emphasis to work on those sorts of things, we'll probably see more of that. But for right now, I think it's a lower priority for what they're trying to work on. It could also be that they're saving more of those features for the tier 4 through 6 range of things, that maybe in the tier 1 through 3 range of things they intend for it to be a little bit more mechanics light, for example, and that once you start getting into the higher ranges of things, that's where more of that, like, not archetype expression but actual class expression, your primary and secondary coming together, is where the the real like exclusive features start to come through. But the one of the things with the regions all coming in right now, but coming in kind of sparse, that it seems like it's an appropriate sort of thing to do, because they want to, they're trying to still get to all of the goals that they had leading into phase 3, but then, you know, to keep on expanding the territory so it can start to facilitate more artisanry. Vira right now, it's all eyes on Jinnah and Squall's End to see if we're finally going to be able to get journeyman scribing going, so we can finally start making these enchanting scrolls, because right now the economy for enchanting scrolls has gotten ridiculous. I remember like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, if you did the mayoral commissions, you got your tickets, and you got one of those journeyman enchanting scrolls, you could sell that for a quick 8 gold, no problem. Now 25 to 30 gold is about how much you're going to get one of those things for, because suddenly they're way more in demand than they ever had been. But on top of that, we still don't have a journeyman scribing place. So what increasing the territory will do is it'll prevent certain sort of groups from basically saying, we're going to prevent this from happening everywhere that we can, because we want to be the ones who have all the boss kill loot, and to be the ones that are, you know, the strongest, because we've kept all of the rest of the economy and the systems down and just focused on being the boss loot people. Instead, that won't happen. That is not a phase 3 concern, because with all of the Riverlands, with all of the desert, with like even half the tropics, half the anvils, half of Jundark, like all of that is already going to be so many nodes that there's just not going to be enough ability for these mega guilds to really take over the entire gameplay server and lock down the economy in the ways that they've been able to in phase 1 and 2. And so all the issues that like many of the issues that the current game economy has been suffering from are relieved by expanding and building out these additional areas. Even now, like I said, Jinnah and Squall's End, these are 2 towns that are going to be on the horizon here. They're going to be the next 2 villages. If one of those doesn't have scribing, I get the feeling that everybody else is just going to run node sieges on them back to back until everybody quits and they can try to get a new population in there. It's not going to be a pretty scene. We're going to have to get scribing at some point. But then one of the other things that'll be nice is when they've actually got freeholds up and running in the way that they're intended to, we should be able to have more of the artisanry going on that as well. And so that'll actually kind of prepare us for above level 29 content.
I was looking in the chat, seeing Phantom say that he's not so interested in playing, but we should still look for an hour or 45 minutes per week to play together, now that I can actually stay in the game. That was kind of fun when we played together a couple of weekends ago, Phantom.
Yeah.
You guys let me know where, and if I don't have a character there, I'll spin one up and get you a level.
Yeah, we were on Lothario, and I think we're only like level 5 or something like that.
Level 5?
Uh-huh.
I could probably do that with pacifism, like just with a few.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as it was like alpha phase, I think it was like late phase 1, early phase 2. I had figured if you do, it was like 5 specific quests that would get you up to level 4, and all you have to kill are the first 3 goblins if you want to even do that one.
Yeah, I think because Phantom was trying out Rogue, I had been trying out Rogue, and my Bard had not gotten very far at the time. So, yeah, we're in early parts over on Lothario. So
Yeah, I can get a character
we're all
up
in
and
that same
running
range.
pretty easy over there.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah,
best
so we
things
should.
I found on a mature server, you just find somebody that looks like they're from a big guild and has a bunch of stuff, and you just run up on, hey, you look like you're rich. You got anything for me? And they'll just hand you stuff. Very, very funny. Like, some people are just like, "Ooh, whatever," but some people are like, oh, this appears to be a genuinely new player. Yeah, I'll give them some stuff. Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I was I'm really just in the game in Ashes, mostly just as a extra person for like population demographics, kind of keeping people active on the server. Um, so I'm not really worried about the gear necessarily at the moment. And it seems like they're probably, I mean, I think there's probably not enough gear that I'd be necessarily interested in. I do need to look around and see how attributes might change that, but it also seems like there aren't tons of recipes, or I wasn't getting recipes to drop. I haven't really checked into it, but they didn't seem to be popping up like I might expect them to from other games.
Gotcha.
Oh, we have royalty in the chat.
Yeah. We've had some fancy folks hanging out here.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky, I don't know who invited Ricky, but he can go back. He can go back to that other content creator program that he's in.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, Dune.
Oh,
Yeah, all the content creator people got access to Dune early, about a month
Cool.
early. So actually, far more.
Y'all
than
are
that, 'cause
having
it's
fun
not out
with
till
it.
what, May 20th? Anyways,
Which that sounds like that's right around the time. May 20th is right around the time for the gatherable changes to drop.
oh yeah, after
In
the
Ashes?
stealth change. I mean, come on. You know, your biggest content creator before he self-imploded and started making videos about weird shit to like 200 people. You know, his biggest grift was you don't communicate well. And that like drove so much of that community discussion. And then he leaves, but it's like, I mean, there's so many examples now. I guess it's not a big deal, I guess, but when it happens repeatedly, like, I don't know, it's just weird. They to their credit, like, came out really fast and like later that day and said, oh hey, we changed this, but it took everyone like pinging Discord, like, what's going on? I don't know. It's just weird. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. You can do what you got to do, but I don't know
I
why
am
Steven
curious to.
deals in dates. I don't know why he went on the
Hey,
record
everybody
putting
begs.
dates.
Everybody begs for it. Everybody begs for it. We want a roadmap, and they say, "I don't want to give a roadmap because then you guys are going to get mad about missing dates." And they say, "But we still want a roadmap," and then he tries to give a roadmap, and people still get mad. I'm just trying to figure out when they're going to announce Alpha 4 and Phase 9 before we get to Alpha 4.
No, I don't think there's going to be an Alpha 4 or an Alpha 3. I'm pretty sure Alpha 2, Phase 3 is what it's going to be called until it's feature complete enough that they're willing to start moving to Beta 1.
So you think we're going to get Alpha 2 Phase 3 9.8? That's what you're telling me?
I don't know what they're going to do with their version numbering. They could add another decimal. They could be 0 point blank point blank. It doesn't.
They're already messing up their decimals.
No, they 0.11 after 0.10 is fine.
No, because they're already on 0.8. They're already talking about 0.8, and then you can't go from 0.8 to 0.1.
What? No, we've gone from 0.8 to 0.9 to 0.10, 0.11. That's what's scheduled.
No, there's no 0.10. After
Yes.
0.9 is 1.0. There's no 0.10.
It's more like IP addresses, my man.
Huh?
It's more like an IP address. The decimal is not a it's not a tens, hundreds, etc. versus decimals delimiter. It is a what part of this thing we're describing delimiter. It's just, it could be a hyphen instead. It could be an underscore. They just happen to stick with a decimal because that's the usual convention. And so, like with an IP address, it isn't. I mean,
But
I guess
it's not an IP. But it's not an IP address. That's the point.
Well, no.
IP
What I'm
address
saying
not-
is, you don't go from like 192.168.0.254 to 192.168.2.0.
I'm pretty sure I've spent years looking at version numbering, and I don't recall seeing something go from a 0.8 to a 0.10.
No, I'm pretty sure even WoW used to do version dot public version dot internal version or something along those lines. We've got I don't know.
It sure shit ain't no 1.0.
Yeah, it's not 1.0. No, it's that just to that decimal is not a mathematic decimal. It's a delimiter between two separate scalings of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about this like it matters.
Well, my point is
practice.
My point is that none of these labels matter. It's kind of like in we're getting back to in EverQuest Next when the beta came out, and it's like, no, that this is not a beta, and they were like, but yeah, it's not true beta, it's the packaging beta label. It's not really the version of testing that we're in beta. It's just the package that we called beta that's now releasing. And so in that vein, Nero is correct. It's just a label for we're doing this, and all of the labels, phase 3, phase 4. That's why I said I'm expecting to see alpha, phase 9, and phase 5 and 6 of these, because these labels really mean nothing.
Maybe we are close to 1.0. We don't know.
Well, I'm just saying they're talking about
Things feel just very split
0.8
up.
and 0.9.
It's
Yeah.
it's I think I had said this maybe earlier in the show or before the show that it felt like they put a giant grind in from basically the second half of last year up till they took that December break. And then after that, a certain someone dropped their stinky turd. But then other than that, and that kind of forced people to, get the desert in. But while that was going on, they were doing their whole like big production summit sort of thing. And the ball from that planning and things has started rolling to a pace that they're actually able to put out an update every 2 weeks that's mostly playable and mostly solid and mostly helps put in more of the systems and more of the features and get more of the feedback that we're looking for or that they're looking for. This one with the attribute change is not going to be resolved immediately. I'd imagine they're going to take more passes at it as they look at more of the data. And likewise, our feedback is going to change as we start to understand it more, which is, it's kind of a funny thing because I wish we'd been told a little bit more about what their actual idea was, why they did the balancing the way they did, what their thought process and stuff is, rather than us trying to like guess at it and fill the gaps.
And then I thought I saw some speculation about the PTR build becoming the Phase 3 build. Is that what I saw?
The talk was something that when Phase 3 comes around, they might use the Phase 2 servers as the thing that they base PTR on, and so they'll, instead of coming from a completely fresh data set, it'll come from things that had been organically built up. But you know what? I don't believe it. You know why? I don't believe anything anybody says about what the wipe and fresh start and all of that stuff is until we get a more clear and concise answer that is very specific, very direct to the point, and does nothing to, beat around the bush, that gets straight to the answer. That's until we get one of those, it can be anything. It's Schrodinger's cat, Phase 3 edition. We don't know until they open the box.
So we think that content-wise, there will probably be a bunch of stuff missing. So so was it originally supposed to start May 2nd or May 8th? Phase 3.
May 1st, I thought.
May 1st.
Okay.
But and it might get pushed. They might let people in during what is effectively Phase 2, but on paper Phase 3, so they can start seeing what the game looks like on mature servers before any sort of wipe may occur.
But we know some things, they have said some things are being pushed, right? Like the gatherable stuff is being pushed to like May 8th and then some more stuff later. Like there's some phases to the gatherable. Is that right? Am I? I think I saw that a week ago or something, but I'm not sure that I'm remembering correctly.
There's a lot going on with the gatherables still. They're still reworking all of that. They haven't finished doing the part where things are a little bit more randomized. I don't believe they've upgraded the surveying tool and its functionality and UI communication just yet. I think that was supposed to have been the update that we got now, but the attribute rebalance and maybe a little bit more work being needed for it kind of kicked it to the next one. But that's one that I'm really excited for. I'm interested to see it's a bit funny right now the way things are, because when I go into the tropics and I gather a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and when I go in the desert and I gather a little bit of this and a little bit of that, it kind of gets into this sort of thing where it's like, all right, now we've got 8 novice trees in the game. We mostly only use 4 of them, and even with that, we mostly only use 2 of them. So it's this odd sort of thing. Why do we need 8 trees? Why do we need 8 novice trees if we only use, 3 of them? And that's been kind of an odd sort of thing that I'm hoping to see a little bit more resolution on with all of this as well. That for all I know, they're going to kind of change some of that up. They've tried to make more different uses for some of this stuff. I want to say Western Larch is the wood that you exclusively need to make turpentine now.
What do you use turpentine for?
Some new component of some sort. I want to say I use turpentine to make the ship hull or something. No.
Okay.
No,
Okay, that
it's
makes sense.
the deconstruction kits. And oh yeah, deconstruction kits are in. Finally, yeah. That's one that I was
Are they
waiting on for
tradable?
a while. I don't know if they made them. Yes, they are. Because I had someone make one for me, and it turns out it makes 12 at a time. They handed me the rest. So yes, they are tradable now.
Do they work?
Yeah, I didn't get my Najash essence out of an old snakebite wand that I bought off someone for 3 gold and had broken down, but I had a chance at it. A chance is better than unknown cost for an item that appears to have been removed from the item drop table. So yeah, I was hoping to get a snakebite wand going, but now that they've kind of redone some of the stuff with the attributes, I'm not even sure that it would do that much for me. I think I gotta go and hit the forge and get the 8 or 12 strands and the best coal I can get, and try to make one of those pinion pens at rare or higher.
How long does it take to deconstruct? Is it instant?
It's pretty instant. I don't believe you have to be at the table of the craft, but you have to have that level of artisanry in the craft that is made in order to disassemble it. So you have to be a journeyman weaponsmith to break down a steel sword, for example. Now, other than that, one of the I hate to put it this way, but it is kind of one of those funny sort of things. The idea of somebody accidentally going corrupt, having their stuff grabbed by somebody who doesn't like them, and then the person pops on their recording or clips it with NVIDIA or whatever, that they take this person's special weapon that's been well enchanted and everything, and they just deconstruct it right then and there in the field. It's like, ha, you will literally never get this sword back. It's gone. Screw you, buddy.
That's
you shouldn't have
stupid.
gone corrupt.
What dumbass did that?
It's somewhere between stupid and
Sell
a
that
way
shit.
to just dunk on somebody in a way that'll make them rage more than just selling it.
Sell it.
No,
Sell it back to
you
them.
should just sell it. No, I don't know. If they're from a rival guild that you're really not trying to help, yeah, don't sell it back to them. Find a guildie that can use it
Take all their
and
money.
get them a price. Nah. They don't. At this point, I don't think of any of the large guilds having like a lack of money. And so, yeah, you might get that person to spend 100 gold to get their sword back, but they'll just get it back, or they'll just RMT it, because RMTers are still very prevalent at the point now where there are guilds that will protect the RMTer guilds. It's hilarious.
So I'm still kind of wondering what you think might happen at the start of phase 3. Do you
Nothing.
think that's going to happen around May 1st, and maybe what that will mean? I think Phantom kind of mentioned that's letting more people in. Maybe part of that would be going every day. Isn't it supposed to be up 7 days a week,
Yep.
starting with phase 3? Do you think that's going to happen around the 1st of May, first week of May, or do you think that they'll actually delay enough that they'll say, okay, we don't have a bunch of this stuff in, so we're going to delay all of phase 3 until we get more stuff in, like
Oh, I don't think they
at
delay
the end
phase
of
3.
May?
I think they just start at May 1st, call it phase 3. Put the servers up 7 days a week. They didn't promise any extra content. They made it very clear phase 3 doesn't mean you get content. Phase 3 means you get phase 3. I mean, all they have to promise is 7 days a week, as long as they can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, they did it with phase 2, right? Phase 2 didn't have anything new either. The only thing that changed with phase 2 was
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was just 5 days a week. There wasn't like a big patch or anything, I don't think, unless I'm forgetting. I had thought when we had the original processing dates, May 8th seemed to make sense because that was their 0.10 whatever patch. And so, okay, May 8th makes sense. That's their big patch. They're putting it in. But I mean, that got all fucked up, or sorry, that all got all moved anyways and pushed back. So I don't know that it mattered even to begin with. I think it's just I think they just you get to May and you say it's phase 3.
Yeah.
I don't think they have to promise us anything. I don't think that's a great look, but I forget who in chat was talking about it. That there's a lot of people kind of waiting waiting to see what this live stream is going to be in April and what we're going to get in May. And I do think it's an incredibly important transition phase because you have we were told for so long, like, oh, if you don't want to test this and that, just wait till phase 3. Phase 3 will be here. You have all these things.
Well, you will be able to
still
test
don't even
every
have
day.
half of phase 2. So we don't have we have like 60%. We have like 45% of phase 2, but then they've started pulling things from phase 3 and putting it into phase 2. I mean, so those phases don't matter at all anymore. I think it's just a date and it's just an uptime thing, and it will come May 1st.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is easier for me. I mean, I have dance classes, pretty much Monday through Friday. And then it used to take me so long just to even log in on Saturday and Sunday. And I'd spend, 45 minutes trying to log in and then get kicked out after 5 or 10 minutes. So that was not fun to go through. I'm not having that issue anymore. I have a new laptop just for Ashes of Creation because doesn't happen with any other game, even no matter what state it's in. But I am able to update quickly and log in quickly, and I'm pretty much staying in for hours. I have a little bit of a lag hiccup thing going on, but at least I can stay in the game. So that does mean the nice thing about having the game up 7 days a week is even, if I wake up from a nap in the wee hours of the morning on a Tuesday at 4 or something like that, I can jump in and play rather than having to wait until Thursday and spend an hour trying to update and all that stuff. But it just means I can play more often and I don't have to be stuck to just waiting around on the week. Did we talk about node sieges? Were node sieges in the last time we had a show?
Node sieges are, I think they had been in progress, that they'd been in PTR but hadn't been released. They've been released. They've had some issues to them. They're a little funky. Some of them have been kind of breaking.
Whole world seems to be breaking.
There's definitely some stuff is a little rough for sure.
I mean, do you agree? It really seems like server structure has gone backwards.
Until I think a day or so ago, I was finding, like, all of the test phase before this one, I was finding this oddity that the things that were a little bit denser, the server was just not performing very well. Anytime I was fighting like a bear near Lion's Hold or Samia's Hope or any of the nodes with a fairly decent population, I would just get bear ass the whole time, which was great because I was getting my rogue levels up, but the bears would not turn. They would keep facing the same direction and just kind of run backwards at me, which is like, all right, backstab, and then, oh yeah, backstab, and then, oh, you're a 1-star, so you still need another backstab. All right, XPs. Move on to the next bear butt bonanza.
I mean, once they put in rogue, I mean, that last, with rogues, well, because I think this was when we played together, it was the same way. I mean, you had armor that was like yellow, and you had legs that were that weren't appearing.
Oh, I mean, if we're talking about that stuff, yeah. First thing when I logged
people
in
running
with this,
in the ground, disappearing
Yeah.
underground, like that.
I-
I logged in for just a few minutes today just to check some of the stat stuff because I was doing some equations, and I mean, I literally logged in, didn't move, didn't do anything, and people were running around me, half in, half out the ground, legs missing. I mean, that feels
Yeah.
like that's gotten worse.
some of that seems like it has. There, when I first came in on, I think it was Thursday, I pop in, I'm next to a vendor. I'm missing the chest. They're missing their legs. It's like, all right, so if I walk into just the right place, we become one whole like character. They did say that they had an issue that they addressed where NPC density was causing performance issues, and they said they fixed that, and it's definitely been better since they made that fix. But you're right, like the model's drawing definitely seems to be a little funky, especially when you first load in.
Somebody sent me a group request, and I couldn't figure out where they were. They were in front of me, but they were in the ground.
Oh.
I haven't seen people just generally being in the ground like that though. So that's one that I haven't really seen. I saw somebody take off on a tiny scorpion and it looked like they were gliding across the ground, but eventually I was able to see the scorpion. So I was like, oh, well, maybe that's a little lower than usual. But full on, like, entire group of people on the ground, under the ground, have not seen that yet. So, there's different quirks with different graphics cards and other things.
Yeah, when Phantom and I were playing, like, my character did not look to me like it does when I'm playing by myself or in the lobby. Like I mean, my character is very dark-skinned, but when we were playing on his machine especially, and when I took a photo, it didn't look like what my character looks like when I'm playing solo or in the lobby. And then once when I logged in, it like on my other character, it logged in as a default skin instead of the one, like, it was light skinned with dark short hair, and that character is dark skinned and bald. And I was like, I mean, it says it's me, but it doesn't look like me.
That's weird.
So there's some stuff going on. There's some glitches going on like that. It's kind of weird.
At least there's one that I haven't seen for a while, and I haven't really tried to push the envelope, but there used to be a bit of a thing where I put giant, like, full torso tattoos, front, back, and face, and one of them at some point would accidentally get dragged and get mistaken for where it is and be completely out of scale, and then I could put another tattoo on in the place that now appeared to not have one, and like could do this a little bit. And then what would happen is when the character is walking around, you'd see these like weird shadowy lines and stuff coming off of them in the color of their tattoo. I haven't tried that one in a while. I think they've fixed it, but I also haven't tried, really push it in a bit. So yeah, funny sort of stuff. Yes, dwarfs on scorpions look like kids on little 50cc mini bikes, absolutely, or like a little go-kart sort of thing. Yeah.
I put this in chat, but I wish they would just have a very, very honest conversation about where they're at, the troubles they're having. What can we really expect in the next year? Like not a Steven selling us a car conversation. Like a realistic, honest, this is where we're at. I still in my head, Steven has said that they've decided to move things out of launch to bring them in post launch, but they have not said what that is. Like now, I mean, the way things have started feeling rushed and stuff's getting pulled from 3 to 2 and 2's not happening, and it seems like the team's been in a crunch for who knows how long. I mean, I wish there was this sort of, this is where he always talks about open development. Well, how honest can you be with where we're at and what's been cut? Because the other, I still can't figure. I don't know. This is probably a paranoid brain, but the idea of spending all this time to balance combat and add in this process when you're still missing. You're enchanting, all these, levels 25 through 50, and you don't, you're all these other things that are going to impact the balance. Even just your secondaries, like all of these things that are not, and you're spending this much time balancing, paranoid brain is like, all right, what's been cut? Like, are you doing this now because these other 3 systems that we were supposed to do, like socketing and tempering, like those are just not going to happen now? Like is that's what's happened, or those are coming later? So
I
now
don't know.
Can balance because we don't have those things coming anymore. I don't know. And to be very clear, I don't know any of this. I'm not as PI, I don't know any of this. Like I'm not trying to give you hints or anything. Like this is just speculation in my brain. So anyway.
Yeah. So just kind of doing a quick review of Phase 2. Sand Squall Desert expansion. All right, pretty much there. Vendigar Tropics, it's getting there, and it feels like there's other zones that are, quickly following on the heels. Level 4 nodes, nope. And then all the stuff that comes with that node siege, yeah, it's there. It's not, you're not destroying places yet, but you'll knock down the walls and win the battle. Vassal ship, not there. Node death, not there. Additional mayoral commissions, I think they're working on that right now. And additional buy orders and what materials are used for the buy orders for the areas. Relics, they talked about relics. It sounds like they're in, but then I don't know where the reliquary is, and I don't know who's actually discovered any. Freeholds is still one of those, like, they dropped them in. They just threw them in as like these wads of putty and didn't really put the rest of the functionality in. So that's like, yeah, they're here, but like if you're not a farmer, who gives a damn? Additional service buildings, I don't know what they mean by that exactly. If they're talking about the other buildings that you can have for different features in the node, or if they're talking about the stuff you can build on a freehold. But that's, freeholds actually being part of the economy is going to be an important thing for them to get going at some point. The economic election type doesn't appear to be here. We got the Valoon, we got the Dunier, they're in. We got the Rogue, dual wield daggers. They teased us with the 2-handed mace. They had that picture on one of the live streams where the dwarf's about to 2-handed smash a giant sandstone maul on one of those beetles in the desert. Something about smashing bugs. And so my question is, how close are we with it? It seemed like they were close. It sounded like they were close. We've seen items and attributions from the data miners already. So are they soon? Are they far? You're right. What's the holdup would be a nice thing to know. Then we're getting down into the systems. Siege vehicles, in test, tempering, question mark. Gems and sockets, question mark. Gear ascension, question mark. Repair kits, question mark. Artisanship skill trees. Well, other than the stuff that you can put in the guild tree, and I don't know who's actually leveling their guilds and doing that stuff. Love to see it. Love to see it. That'd be one I'd really like to see before any wipes occur or fresh starts. Animal husbandry breeding. I don't really think we've got that either. Party gathering. I think they did something where like your buddy can dig up your map for you or something. They were trying. I don't really think they've really got the party gathering going. You can't both like team up on a node and get it done quicker or anything like that, or get better quality out of it. Player shops, no, but the market's actually better. You can search by item instead of having to search by, shops and shop descriptors. So that's a huge improvement. It's funny to me that Winstead is still like the market, the major market. I want to say Halcyon and Miralith are pretty decent markets, and then everywhere outside of that, you have no more than 4 pages of stuff tops. Instanced housing, absolutely not in yet. Absolutely love to see that before any wipes or fresh starts. And then the story arcs for the Riverlands. I understand that the Squall's End to Zephyr Winds to Miraleth side of things is a little bit more built up than it used to be. I know the scholar that used to start the Minotaur quest, he moved from the bridge between Winstead and Northern Carfin to Miraleth proper, so I don't like him being down there because it means a lot more back and forth, but it's fine. It'll at least help people find him a bit easier, I think. But that's just a little bit of it. I know about the Minotaurs and how some of them are feeling about the return of the exalted races. Okay, the godlings. So great. I know a bit of that. I know a little bit about the goblins. I know a little bit about the Highwaymen Hills being bankrolled by the Forsaken Blades, who operate out of the Citadel of the Steel Bloom and have that blockade on the road. Just that one blockade that's always there waiting for you on the road between Halcyon and Winstead. There's a few other things here and there. I know the scholar Icevon has the thing he gives you, and you can follow up with that elsewhere to an NPC who is just standing there by his big old animal and doesn't really pay any mind until you've got something that catches his eye. But I wouldn't say those are the story arcs for the Riverlands. Those are just some stories and narratives that exist. I don't feel like the arc is actually happening. And really, I don't know how much the arcs are going to express themselves until we start seeing the, town, city, metropolis level progressions.
I had a question about, I think we didn't mention it with regard to node sieges, because node sieges are now live, but they don't do destruction. And I think there's also no destruction of freeholds, right?
Yeah, freeholds don't even have enough stuff going on them to be worth destroying. And then for node destruction, really you're just breaking down one of the gates and busting in, or maybe both of the gates. They lowered the health of the gates from like 1 million to 500,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But they don't have any of the siege weapons in. You're not destroying the walls, like all of the walls. It's just the gates. You're not destroying any buildings. You're not spending that overwhelming pile of curio coins that you've been building up to get to buy your way into a dragon monster coin and, you know, start laying siege to the place that way. So it's like here, kinda, but a lot of the supporting systems to make it important aren't here yet.
And part of the reason to lower how much it takes to damage, or how little it takes to damage the gates, is that because there's not a sufficient amount of players at the sieges? How
I think
big are the sieges?
it was just
How long
a
do they last?
balance change that they do right now. The sieges will last, I want to say, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour if both sides are actually there and participating. That's about how long I feel like they were taking on PTR. It's not your full army versus army mass scale. It's a reduced, the 50 that your defending mayor chooses of all the people that signed up, and the 50 that the attacking mayor chooses of all the people that signed up. You can kind of swap people out if somebody disconnects and they can't come back, and you know that's communicated. It's like, all right, Joe Jack, you're out. Jimbo, you're in. They'll just get teleported into the fray and be able to join the battle.
And
If
then
you're
I
not-
feel like, go ahead.
Go
Maybe
ahead.
you're going to answer
I
this.
was going to
maybe
say that when a siege is active, now this is the part we are so confused about. While a siege is active currently, you can't use the artisan stations there. You can't access your storage there. The entire radius around the war zone is, if you're not a combatant, it's either going to kick you out or it's going to kill you because you've walked in afterwards and said, bro, you're going to die if you don't turn around. And you can't even cheat that. I tried running a caravan through the bubble to see if you could cheat it. No, it doesn't work. That was one of the first things I tried. It did that on PTR. It does not work. You're not going to caravan your way in and cheat it.
that was my question, because I did see a notification that said, if you haven't joined a side, get out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you were planning to land your caravan there, whoops-a-doodle.
Interesting.
Whoopsie daisy. But fortunately, they telegraph it far enough in advance. They give plenty of announcements, and it's only going to happen at certain, server times, so that it shouldn't just happen like all of a sudden you and your buddies have 5 caravans that are just ready to get in, and then nope, it's a node siege. Screw all of your money. Like, that's not going to happen. You'll have plenty of time to know ahead of time that it's going to happen, and then park them somewhere else, turn them back from where you started, and just do it another time, or find some other plan for how you're going to do it. Since it's only going to be 50v50, though, don't plan that there won't be plenty of people around in the area anyway. There might actually be a higher density of people out on the hunt because they've been displaced from their node and they can't go and do their thing. But yeah, that you're right now, until there's actually some semblance of bank destruction, I don't think anybody's actual stashed resources are compromised at all. And even with that, it is not clear to me at this time whether people's banked materials will actually be lost or they'll just be locked out and you can't access them if the place gets destroyed. And that the only materials that would actually be lost in a siege are the materials like your gold that you've built up through taxes and people doing business in the area, or the actual like resources from doing the commissions that have built up. That those are the things you're going to get, and not people's individual stuff. But we don't actually know quite yet. We're a little too far out from, I think, having the full system to be getting that answer quite yet. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff, a lot of the artisan stuff, and I want to emphasize a lot of the systems that are missing are artisan and like housing and freehold related sort of stuff. And I would really like to see all of the gathering stuff, housing being functional, and freehold being able to have more features and being able to build stuff on them before they actually do any sort of wipe or fresh start. It might mean that people that come in May 1st are going to have a month-long runway of playing on kind of the best of the old side of things before, it transitions to whatever the fresher version of it's going to be with, once again, wipes or fresh starts. Which is good because then they'll be able to get an introduction to the game and not just be coming into the fresh start completely unknowing of what they're getting into. But if they do decide to do fresh starts on May 1st, wipes or not, it's not necessarily the worst thing. I just don't think it's going to be the best use of the data that they want to get together, because people are still going to use the old sit on a tree for every 4 hours, pick it up again, and you've got legendary wood, and they're trying to get away from that. So I don't know why they would extend the wrong way of gathering into what would be a fresh start of one form or another.
So real quick, Huskies and me over on YouTube, just to clarify what I put in there. So yeah, the summoner has been promised for phase 3, but we've not really been given a date, and technically phase 3 will now run until beta 1. So while we all hope that means sometime in the next few months, I think history has shown us not to think that that's going to happen in the next few months. That's why I said hopefully in the next 6 months. So it'll be sometime during phase 3. We really have been given absolutely no guarantee as to when. Actually, they've really gone out of their way to state just because it's listed in our roadmap doesn't mean it happens right away. It can happen anytime during phase 3. And again, the fact that Rogue came at the very, very tail end of phase 2, and we still have so much missing of phase 2. I think people can now look back at that, right, and say, well, look, when they said Rogue for phase 2, yes, Rogue came in at phase 2. It was literally at the back end of phase 2. So that's hopefully not that like Summoner is going to be at the back end of phase 3, because I mean that could be like 2 years from now. But I think we just have to have some perspective as to like kind of when we can expect that. Hopefully we do get it sooner, because I think also a lot of us not only want the Summoner, but we really want to start getting into the secondaries and seeing what that's like. And they really can't get into secondaries until they have the Summoner put in. So fingers
crossed. They could, I just wouldn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, they could. I don't know why they would. Again, from a balancing perspective, like in testing for data, like if you're going to start secondaries before you have all your primaries, I don't know how that provides you with super helpful data. So anyways, just, not trying to freak out, just trying to have some perspective. So
I get the feeling the orb, the one-hand axe, and the piercing sword are going to be coming a little bit closer to when the other the two-handed spear, the two-handed axe, and the two-handed mace are going to be coming in. I get the feeling that they're all gonna kind of come in a closer proximity when they do arrive. But there's probably still more they're working out with this whole attribute rebalancing before they're like, all right, let's introduce the rest of these items and their, identities in the gameplay. Then there's something that's been bugging me for a while, and this was a reminder of it. The one-hand sword pierce. It's like they do and don't want to acknowledge slash, pierce, and bludgeon. Like they're both doing it and not doing it, but not doing anything at all to acknowledge it. And that's been something that's kind of weird to me, because why have a differentiation between these 3 different damage types if you're having them all effectively operate in the same manner? I don't know what exactly the difference between a slashing and a piercing sword is going to be, for example. Other than I'm guessing the piercing ones are going to be your foils and your rapiers and your, you know, like lighter fencing oriented blades rather than your you know, wider double edged heavy slasher sort of blades. So that'll be something. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. You know, just when they come through with all of this stuff. You're right though. Turquoise Sea, the anvils, Jundark wasn't even on the thing, and that's coming in. That's when
isn't
that.
there something for April? Was it the anvils? There was something for April because we had Turquoise Sea in March. Something was supposed to come April, and May was supposed to be June Dark.
Yeah, I think.
Because it was one per month.
I think
I'm pretty sure.
the anvils is the next one that we're gonna start seeing while they start filling out more of the Turquoise Sea. Right now, the Turquoise Sea is fully lawless, and I don't know if it's intended to remain fully lawless or if it's gonna end up being one of those. Yes, there's ships, but it's not the ocean, so it's gonna still have law, and it's just lawless right now.
I'm gonna have to wonder if it's hard to figure out corruption on boats. Like, how do you exactly set that all up? I wonder if that's part of why there's lawless.
Well, what do you mean? Let's explore that, because now I'm curious. If I'm the operator of a cannon and I shoot that cannon and I kill someone who's not flagged.
I'm not saying, and I'm not.
First of all, well, hold on. First of all, how's that even right now? Yeah, I get part of what you're saying because, right now there's no correct way that a cannon should be able to reach somebody who is not flagged. So they obviate the issue completely by just having it currently lawless. But if it is a ship in a lawful area and somebody is not flagged and you hit them for 10k with a direct shot with the cannon and they explode, I would imagine you are the one who goes corrupt. Just along the same lines, if you're defending a caravan and you kill some random dude's horse because you weren't paying attention or whatever, and somehow were flagged to hit other players because maybe you're also doing healing or buffs or something, you know, these things occur. Well, the whole caravan defense team doesn't go corrupt. It's just you. So I'd imagine it's going to go along those lines. Ramming? I don't know. I don't know if you'll actually be able to ram a person swimming on their mount or whatever and kill them. Ramming currently isn't even in as a weaponized form yet.
But I mean, even then, you assume that we have coding in for a character being able to take damage like that. I mean, isn't it right now you have to direct damage somebody to go corrupt? Like if you do some sort of AE, it's not going to damage them, right? There's not friendly fire.
You can corrupt people with AoE if the person. So let's say I'm somebody who applies buffs, but I'm in a PvP sort of thing, and I want to be able to apply buffs to my buddies. I might have had to flag because some of the flagging stuff is a little funky. I might have needed to flag to be able to actually put that buff on that person. And while I'm flagged, I believe now my AoEs, yes, will hit anything in the area. So I put a regen on that person. I put a run speed on that person. I fired a rain of arrows into a group. And there was a basic horse mount in the group that got killed that someone left there for whatever reason. That wasn't part of the attack or defense. Yeah, I'm corrupt now. AoE is an easy way to do it. Using starter horses to corruption bait people is a very kind of common thing. Very kinda. It is a common thing.
I need to know what was said. So I'm going back to Peon's video right now, and I'm going to quickly scan the transcript to see.
Fair enough. Overall, there's one other thing that to me is absolutely hilarious, and I figured it was gonna happen. If I were a betting man, I would have put money on this.
All right, here it is.
All
Jen,
right,
I found it
go
quickly.
for it.
Sorry. In March, he said, in March, we're going to introduce the Turquoise Sea. In April, we're going to introduce the June Dark. In May, we're going to introduce the Anvils.
Oh. Okay.
I knew there was something in April that he said.
So, what I was gonna say, when the desert first hit, and we were able to go into it and start leveling up the nodes, it felt to me like hard mode. Like the enemies not only are coming in at higher levels and higher density, but they're just genuinely harder enemies than the ones in the Riverlands. That their mechanics, their features, and everything are turned up a notch compared to the stuff in the Riverlands. And I made the declaration, Desert is hard mode. I don't know why. Everything's, at node level 0, node level 1, you should be able to get a level 10 character or whatever into that area and actually make progress and level and that sort of thing. And then they got more of they expanded the lawless zone, and we saw what that looked like. It's like, all right. And the thing that I was predicting is that they're not actually going to make the deserts properly leveled, that they're just going to take all the mobs and everything that was already out there while it was lawless and just leave them. And then the only thing that's going to be toned down is the footprints around the actual node locations. Fair enough, that's what happened. That you go out to Jinnah, you go out to Squall's End, you better be a high level 20 something, at least in the upper teens and pretty decently geared, but probably 20 something, because it's all like level 29s and 30s out there. And if you're not at least level 21, you're not going to get any experience. I mean, you, the player, might gain experience in fighting these things, but your character won't get any experience because you're not within a level range where you're allowed to get experience, even though you're fighting something that if I was a dungeon master, I'd be like, kick ass, you took that thing down, full XP. That's so the desert is hard mode. The desert is hard mode. It's hard mode when it's de-leveled, and it's hard mode thereafter. I'm sure this is one of those things that they're going to want to rework before they do a wipe or fresh start. Sure, they're wanting to rework. Are they gonna? No. I'd like to see it. I hope it's a priority to have the Riverlands not be the intro zone, and that everywhere outside of it is the tougher regions. Because they're not trying to make WoW. They're not trying to make that kind of game. They're not trying to make like EQ. They're trying to make something different.
Don't nodes have to work then?
They do. The nodes work.
No, I mean the making Riverlands not the starter area. They have to grow, right? Nodes and trigger new things, harder things.
Yeah, I mean you don't.
Does that
when
work?
you start in. Yeah, all of that stuff works. You can, it starts easy on, like when phase 2 started, for example, I could actually go out below level 10 and start going to like the Winstead area and fighting stuff in the area, getting experience and helping build the place up so Winstead could try to level up as quickly as possible. So yeah, there's, that part definitely works in the Riverlands.
So,
But outside of the Riverlands, there's definitely some rebalancing that needs to occur, and redistribution of all the creatures and a lot of stuff. And roads are such a major important feature of the game, and that's one of the other reasons why I call the desert hard mode. There are no roads. Ain't no roads in the desert. And so all of the road buffs and specializations for your caravans and your mounts that might pertain to roads, you don't get them. You don't get them at all. And so that's one of those other things that, like, the desert's here, but like between some of the balancing changes and some of the other stuff, the desert's here, but it's distinctly a harder zone.
Phantom, did you notice that the roads are feel safer than they did when you first started playing?
No.
Okay.
Largely because things get pulled and they don't path back where they're supposed to. And so then they get all around the roads and then you die to them.
Yeah.
That's why.
Any mobs can do that at any time, because when people are escaping mobs, they're going to be trying to find the road so they can get where they're going faster. So naturally, if it's going to break, it's going to break and get stuck on a road. And I understand that there's perhaps some effort going on to try to analyze that better and be able to spot which are the mobs that are doing it and do something about it. Legitimately, any mob that will go as far as a road and then not leash back to where it was afterwards is a culprit. And so they still, with the lack of roads, they don't have those like corridors of travel that allow players to get through the game world, even if they haven't leveled up to the difficulty of the area. And there's some of them that are just cheap, like that rock elemental. If you're going north along the river to Winstead, that rock elemental that hangs out kind of midway up, but will sometimes just run over to the road and hang out there. That's cheap. Come on. Like that's just it's a newbie killer. Am I not aggro? It's easy to avoid them, but it sucks. Come on. That's just rude.
Go ahead, Diggs.
Far away enough from Lionhold for me to be experiencing that. Roads seem kind of safe to me, but I might not have traveled far enough for it to be.
So I'm gonna push back a little bit on nodes. What I was trying to say was that in order for Riverlands to not feel like the introductory zone, nodes need to be working so that as they level up, that introduces dynamic changes to the population, to the surrounding levels, the different types of monsters, the dungeons that pop in and out. That is not working. So I don't know that you actually could even see a node change physically from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Well, we can't do 4, even though we're supposed to by now.
No, we would see them change. We would see it start as a crossroads. It just, when it happened in phase 2 and even in phase 1, it happened so quickly because everyone was hammering on it that it literally, if you weren't out at one of the nodes within maybe the first 3 days, but then everything. So once they became level 3 nodes, they became level 3 nodes.
Until that system works, like you're always going to have a starting zone, like you are, because there's no effective way to change it on forward to be something other than a starting zone. I hope they get it working, but we just don't have that process.
Like that's something that I really want to be able to do with whatever fresh start or fresh wipe or whatever occurs, that I roll my character. I do a little of this and that around Lionhold and Samia's, and then once I'm maybe level 5 or 6 or so, I just beeline to the desert. Or maybe just maybe, me and all my buddies say, screw it. Let's all do sweat of your brow. Let's got our old swayback plotters and ride those damn things straight to the desert and stake our claim. I want to be able to do that, and I want it to be something where it doesn't feel like we're going to go and get our asses kicked and be like, man, screw this. These bugs are too damn difficult. We got to go back to the Riverlands. This sucks. Like that needs to not happen. And right now that's, more what I kind of expect will occur. So there's definitely a lot of work that needs to go in. I honestly, Warhelm, I'm still sticking with my guns on this one. Nuke it from orbit, move it away, move the gate and the towns away, but having Lionhold, Samia's, the Alien Portal, and Warhelm all on top of each other, that is ace, perfect, beautiful design for a single or small scale multiplayer game, but it is not going to work for this MMO because you have everything built way too densely and dynamically for such a small space. There's so many quests that you can just keep doing in the area that keep you in the area, and that's not the goal. The goal of the starting towns is get people out there, get them to do that starter quest, and then as soon as they've done sweaty your brow, keep them out. Don't give them a reason to come back. Give them a reason to go elsewhere so that more people can come in. So you relieve that starting zone area. That's the whole point of the starting zone. And so like that's an area, it once again, for a single player game, it's great. It's so well built. It's all nice and dense and tidy and compact. You don't even realize until you've done the trek that the bridge across Lionhold connects to the Warhelm garrison, and that leads you over to the Griffin Nest. That's great. It's fantastic, except not for, thousands of people trying to be in the early part of the game all at once. Stokenbane. Yeah.
Where that? Where that? I never heard of that. What it is? Come on, Stokenbane.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think he's just referring to Oakenbane. Though I would imagine Oakenbane, it's right over by Miraleth, so I would imagine that's Miraleth having to build up for the Winstead area. I feel like Highwayman Hills is always going to be there, but I don't know if Coralock with the goblins or Nickabrae with the spiders and the bandits, if those would actually be there until it's built up. Those feel like places that should grow with the area.
Okay.
Highwayman Hills.
Oh.
That place. It's one of the reasons why Winstead was so popular. Highwayman Hills, the exploitable goblins at Coralock, Coralock, and then the bandits are pretty easy at Nickabrae. You got plenty of just whatever you can kill all up and down and around the area. Plenty to gather. It's kind of a great place to build up. Yeah. Oakenbane is Miralethid. Definitely. Or on the video behind me right now, that's the Highwayman Docks, Highwayman Bay or whatever. You can kill the stuff there, and you get those things to go get the reckless doublets and stuff, which apparently just got kind of bonked into the ground a little bit. But it's a fun little place. You get these little drops off of the captain and crew, and some other exclusive materials for items I haven't made.
Mr.
But yeah,
Mr.
Go ahead.
Fantastic, I will say the lack of POIs in New Ayla makes it a wonderful, wonderful harvesting area. I love New Ayla for that. You can go there and you can just chill, mine, chop down trees, pick little flowers, all you want. Nobody is over there.
Yeah,
I kind of like that, actually.
New Ayla in particular is one that I feel like on every single server in Phase 1 and Phase 2 was like the bum economy of the Riverlands. Like if you want to go to a place where the things that are being listed are priced low out of desperation rather than, priced high like you would find in Winstead. Yeah, like New Ayla was a funny sort of place in that regard.
Yeah, and I do kind of probably prefer having gatherables be static rather than dynamic, the way I hear dynamic being talked about, because I like knowing, okay, if I go to this area, I'm going to find this. If I want to get this, I'm going to go to this area.
No, you're not. The reason why you're not is because they're static and everybody else has already gotten to them, and now they're on 2 and 4 hour rotations before they'll pop up. At which point they'll appear again to gather them again because they know the rarity of the thing and they want to get it again. No, the static does not work. It makes sure someone like you will not.
It's
get
not
this
going to
block.
work in Ashes. It's not going to work in Ashes, but it works in every other game that I've played.
Every other MMO.
Yeah.
Well, this ain't every other MMO. There's some things
I understand. I understand that.
I like the change that's coming. The dynamic material locations, but being based in logical sort of things rather than approximately a little bit of salt and pepper being sprinkled across the world, and those happen to be the rare resource sockets.
I mean, it's not happening. Yeah, it's not happening to me right now in Ashes.
So you regularly find the materials of the quality that you want to make?
Well, I'm not. I mean,
You ain't gonna find no copper. You ain't gonna find no ruby. Well, you might find rubies.
No, there's plenty of copper and rubies. Like all
Yeah.
of the materials are findable now. It's just that now when people find the good ones, they put a 2-hour timer and they come back and they get it again and they get it again
that's
and they
true.
get it
The
again,
static node,
and then they
get
come
much
back
rare.
with they've got 30 or 40 units of whatever that thing is by the end, and then it's finally timed out and they can't get it anymore. Meanwhile, anybody that was looking for those materials was not getting them because that one person had it camped out. And you don't know unless you know that person is sitting on timers. You don't know who's sitting on timers and who just happened to walk up and find a tree that may not be of any quality. Braidwood Alley is kind of a funny sort of thing. I like where that area where the braidwoods all grow, kind of along the beach where you get past Samia's, kind of south of Oakenbane, kind of north of Sunhaven. There's this little sort of pass that always has the braidwood. What I like about that is you don't know necessarily when they're going to spawn unless you were there to see the timers, but you know people are going to go there looking, and you know there's going to be some PvP and people getting chippy trying to get access to those materials. They could all end up turning out to be common and uncommon, and there'll still be people fighting over it because they want to make sure they're getting them. So to that, I like that there'll be a logic to where the materials are. To know that you have to go into caves if you want to have a higher chance of finding like a lot of copper, for example. That's cool. I like that. Or that maybe certain, as we have right now, certain trees try to prefer certain elevations and certain other sorts of features. But then even more than that, there'll be inklings of, I want to say, like weeping willows are going to be in clusters near the rivers, and braidwoods are going to be kind of in clusters more inland a bit. And so that'll actually start to direct people to where to go and where to play to try to find the things they're looking for. So that'll be nice. And then being able to use the survey tool to be able to actually tell which one of those trees is actually the rarer ones, or which one is of this group of materials in an area, which ones are the higher quality. That will be great, because if you're just looking for like oak trees and there's just a big old untouched forest of oak trees, you can use the survey tool, try to get a large grouping of them, and be able to know from that survey which are the ones that you're going to want to get to be able to make a higher quality boat or a higher quality caravan or whatever it is that you're targeting. So those are some of the things that we'll have to look forward to with the dynamic system, compared to, like, if we're talking about like more static things, like some things are kind of nice to be to know where they're at, and to be able to access them there, for sure. I like that the common materials are literally everywhere, trees in particular, herbs in particular too. But there's still a lot that needs to change. That's going to be changing hopefully pretty soon, where we'll be able to see rarity and quantity and other things from the artisan specialization starting to actually matter a little bit more. But
Okay,
no,
okay. Wrap
yeah.
it up, Nero. Wrap it up.
That's what you guys are looking at me here for. You're like, we're gotten to the 2 hour point.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that is probably about all I had to say. We covered most of the stuff since our last episode, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think we'll be here. Next Sunday is Easter Sunday. So we will probably not be. I'll be at a movie anyways with my daughter. So, but we'll be back after that. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll have to see if we have a live stream before the next time.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll do it on the last Friday or if they'll try to push it to the day before May 1st.
Good question.
We'll see.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, we went extra long today. I guess it fits. We hadn't met for a few weeks, so
Yeah.
appreciate everyone hanging out. Join us in Discord if you want to keep chatting. Gosh, I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm playing that I could play with other people. Not really. It's been all
Epic 7.
Oh yeah, but that's not a.
Is that solo? Is that solo? I don't know.
There's some. No, there's player versus player in it, but I also been doing that Game of Thrones pay to win shit, which has actually been. I don't mind pay to win stuff. I don't mind the gotcha stuff if there's good stories behind it. So Epic 7's got that. The Game of Thrones has actually not been that bad. But all right, yeah, I gotta be heading to bed. So yeah, we will see you in probably about 2 weeks. So have a good night.
Hey there, everybody. Take care.